Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Every Point's a Winner. I'm here with the legend himself, the big. See how the horse's head's getting bigger and bigger? Scott Pearce. After last weekend, mate, you deserved that horse to be taking up the whole room. They were fantastic on the Friday, and it's probably the first game we're going to talk about. We're going to go over the ANZAC weekend. What did you get up to on the ANZAC? Did you have to work or anything?
Oh, it was a bit of a lounge lizard.
Okay.
Watched plenty of footy. I watched as many of the NRL games as I could. Relaxed. So I had no real festivities on whatsoever.
Okay.
I paid my respect by standing up to salute at the beginning of each game.
Definitely.
And I guess that's what I learned during the week. I remember in our first podcast we were talking about the days of the ANZAC days with Skull on the hill at St George and Balmain game when he broke the silence and said, "Let the war begin." I got to say that the NRL did an absolutely magnificent job. It was not boring. It was an absolute spectacle. They had the fire and the flags and the marching, and I just thought it was brilliant. They did an excellent job, and I think the NRL fans were well behaved and very respectful of Auckland Day in Australia.
That's fantastic, Scotty. But they don't let people like Skull in anymore either.
No, I mean, it's pretty well policed these days. But look, I think they went without a hitch, and I think it was a great representation of the Anzacs and same over in New Zealand with the Wars. So
yeah, very respectful.
I learned
Canberra as well. Canberra, Townsville. Townsville, they got the big base there.
Yep. So look, it was a fantastic weekend of footy, and to have back-to-back weekends promoted in such a way with Magic Round coming up, and having Las Vegas at the beginning of the season, the NRL is clearly, to me, the most entertaining and biggest sport in our country.
The shining star. Not only that, there's also word. Remember, I predicted at the start of of our podcast career. Well, actually, episodes and what have you. Yeah, well, we're gonna. Who knows what happens? But anyway, we love doing it. We love bringing it to you, and we got a lot of winners last week. Fantastic. I had no power. You realise that, don't you? On for 2 nights, I had no power.
Yeah,
so I couldn't get a lot of my bets on.
Some tree fell over and hit your wires, and then they had the fire brigade out there, and we sort of got cut off halfway through the E4 episode as a result. But look, we're back on deck this week, and
there's a lot of controversies last week, though. Like, how many sin bins were in those first couple of games?
18. 18 in total. Look, I think Andrew Abdo's come out this week. He's listened to the whinging and the whining that had to come from someone like Andrew Johns, who, to his credit, sometimes I disagree with him, but I certainly agree with him in this respect. The bunker pulling out incidentals, 2 and 3 sets of 6 before making and taking some action. The players were confused.
Well, that was the thing. That was the thing. That they'd played on, as you said, 3 or 4 sets of 6 and go, hang on, and then go back. It was like, hello, I've done all my chess moves. What are we going to go back 3 or 4? No.
And from a refereeing point of view, like I've refereed a lot of Rostag internationals, and even in 40 minutes of football, I've had players at halftime come and say, "Well, what about this decision?" And at times you're so involved in the present part of the game to rewind and go back.
You can't.
It's very hard to address, and sometimes you've got to say to the players, "Look, I need to think about that. We're into the game now, and I can't recall that incident as yet."
Yeah.
And, to have a referee in his ear while he's trying to count and navigate those league players, and then have someone in the bunker going, and you'd be going, what the hell?
Scotty, but what did we say quite a few episodes back? The more they stay out of it and the more that the referee takes control of the game, the more the flow is. How many games were stop, start, hang on, we're going to look at that. Okay, come over here. And it was embarrassing. You could see it not only in the press. Did you see all the press conferences I sent you last night?
Yep.
It was embarrassing for them, and people go, well, I don't know. What are they supposed to do?
Well, Billy Slater was saying
high tackles.
Billy Slater was saying that well, that's right. The players. Let's go to the players. The players. I mean, there was one player who was just running across field, and he's just avoided it, stayed upright, and the player's falling to score the try, hit his head.
Yeah.
But it's gone against the defender. And the stiff neck policy that Andrew Johnson's talking about. How can you run into a player? You lean forward, like you can't
to protect
you
yourself.
Head back like this and stiffen
and breaking your neck.
The old days of Johnny Gibbs, you know what I mean? Like with the little head up there. The old chin up like that. But look, the referees they were so jerky and jumpy in regards to making decisions that anything that the players were trying to milk, they had to accommodate for that as well. And Billy Smith said...
We don't want it to end up like the soccer when they go for those mad dives, do we?
No, absolutely not.
We need to nip it in the bud now.
Andrew Abdel said in the Magic Round this weekend that they don't want the players to buy into trying to milk and that they're not going to, unless it's actually catastrophic, they're not going to...
They're going to stay on...
the bunker's got to stay out of it.
Stay out of it. If they're going to stay on the ground and they're writhing in pain and they need to have a HIA, then... Even so, didn't they have it right before where it was a report, he's on report after the game? We don't want to know about it now. We don't want to know about it.
And the effect that it's having on the game. The effect it's having on the game there and then.
It's one of the first games, Scotty. It was your boys 42-18. And there's some amazing stats here. Amazing stats.
Well,
you heard the press conference.
I think the iPad's lost a bit of power here, so I'll switch that in there.
Is it in the hole?
No, I've got it. Sorry?
Is it?
Look, talking about grubs, you Bulldogs supporters, your players.
Behave yourself.
They were grubby, right? They thought they could go out and outmuscle the Broncos, and what they did was they outplayed themselves. They didn't want to come and play footy, lifting the knee, right, into players that were making tackles, head-high shots, and in the end, it was an absolute 40-minute spellblinder, masterclass, Adam Reynolds. One half of football that the Broncos are sounding a massive warning. A bit of the consistency is required. And from the anytime try scorers, if you did what I did, Adam Reynolds, Dane Mariner, Jesse Arthurs, and Shish Kebab.
Oh, yeah, you got it. Yeah, we've had him the last 3 or 4 weeks, but I couldn't even get my bets on, as I said.
And
our first bet was the North Queensland game.
And you would have put Bronson Cherry in there as well, and he scored for the Doggies. So,
well, don't forget Jacob Preston. He got us the double the week before.
Yeah. So look.
But what about Xavier Willison? You and I have had a big rap on him as an edge player for even halfway through last year when he was hot and cold. Mm-hmm. We've had a big rap on him, and he's got in over in the first minute.
Well, he did, and he started the game, so that's unlike him. They normally bring him off the bench. So to get first-time try scorer in the match with Xavier Williamson, that would have paid very healthy dividends.
But would Willison start in the future, in the next couple of games? Because it doesn't seem to affect him.
No, I think it's an experience.
Or you think he's going back to the bench?
He may. Look, what's Madge thinking? I don't know, but they certainly fixed up their completion rates. The Broncos are looking.
Let's have a look at those stats. Let's have a look at those stats. The possession was 56% to Broncos, 44% to Canterbury, and they barely held the ball in that first half. All runs were pretty high for Broncos. All runs meters 1,537 to Canterbury 1,200. Kicks, of course, you'd expect it from a guy, but that you had 2 kickers in the game who are
Adam Reynolds and Benny Hunt.
And Benny Hunt, mate, he lifted after these 2 bad ordinary games. And remember, I told you about that. Champions do that.
Yep.
Champions do that.
Performance, but no, it came back.
We're all human. The kicks were like 23-16. Kicking meters 682 to 481. So tackles made. This one's catastrophic for Canterbury. 399. So nearly 400, and not even 300 for Broncos.
That's going to had 70% of possession in the first half. So
that's going to stiff you.
But look, it's easy to say 70% of possession, but they did score 34 points. They scored 6 tries.
Well, it all worked,
and it was dry weather.
The machine worked.
It was dry weather football. You look at those 2 kicks that.
And it was wet, wasn't it? It was wet.
Yeah, Adam Reynolds put across for the wingers, unbelievable.
Awful.
Unbelievable.
But he's got that foresight. But God, that was awful defence.
Yeah.
And here's another reason why. 10 missed tackles, Broncos, 34 Canterbury. So the writing's on the wall with those stats.
And what did I say the week before in preparing for that game in the last DPOR visit from myself? I said you need to look at the credibility of the Bulldogs' first 7 games and the draw that they had.
You were correct, and I stand by you.
This week,
as a co-host of EPOR, however, Jacob Preston yet again was the top tackler at 47. What do you think of him? You've got a big rap on him, surely.
Yeah,
he's a good kid.
It probably could have been 60 if he didn't make the tackles that he did. So
yeah. One of your favourites, he only did 34. Usually he averages 50. Patrick Carrigan again, a top tackler, and
he was responsible for a lot more metres. But Payne Haas,
yeah, your favourite, 261 most metres. I mean, this is shocking for Canterbury. Less than half for Jacob Kiraz, who's a big runner. 2 line breaks to Marcelo Montoya. And Shibasaki 1 break. Haas, can he put it together every game?
Yeah, I think.
For some games he's quiet.
Look, he's playing for a contract. I mean, what we did learn in the last week was the
State of Origin.
I'm still going to call them the North Sydney Bears. No, North Sydney Bears are back.
Okay.
Payne Haas.
Is that where he's going?
Well, he's off contract in November.
Okay.
So he's in the open market.
And there's big money there from the Bears, isn't there?
I'm sure that the Broncos will try and tee up Payne Haas. If anything, he's the one player in that team they need to keep. But if Reynolds wants to play another year, some players are going to need to take a cut.
Yeah.
But look, I believe the Broncos have done a lot for Payne Haas's family. As wickedly wretched and misdirected as it is, his brother, his mother, and all that. He's got his head screwed on, and they've been real supportive. So,
well, his brother's not a bad player either.
No, his brother's a good player, but there's another brother that's playing behind bars, and
is there?
And his mum's naughty as well. So, at the end of the day, his family's a bit wayward.
All right.
He's got his head screwed on, and I think he'll stay with the Broncos.
Well, they're a big organisation. Good on them. Let's move to the next match, Scotty. It was the Anzac Day clash, the usual clash which is usually a pretty even match, but it was a thrashing to the Roosters, 46-18 over the hapless Dragons. What is going on with Dragons? Manly's got the hoodoo side for me as well. Every time I tip them, I tip them against St George. St George beat them. Every time I tip St George, they lose. And I tipped St George here, but I did say try and have both sides at the margin here because I was scared of the Roosters, and they put on one of their best games for some time.
I think this is the difference between the quality of the two coaches, personally. I've looked at what roster Trent Robinson's had. I think Trent Robinson, he has to be admired for what he's got out of beating the Broncos and beating the Panthers and now beating the Dragons. It's hard for him to get those young blokes to back up week after week after week.
And he has lost a lot of players.
And he's lost a lot of players. The Dragons, they should be getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And the Dragons, just when the penny's about to drop, and you have faith in them, because last week I got 7 out of 8 head-to-head. And this is the one game that screwed me. And the Dragons, I was utterly disappointed. I went to our best mate, PC, and said, mate, Anzac Day, will the Dragons finally beat the Roosters? And Pete says, guaranteed, bro. See you later.
Where's his St George Guernsey?
They cost me, mate.
Put it back in the cupboard.
5 out of the last Anzac Day clashes have gone to the Roosters. And
5
out of the last 6 Anzac games.
Jeez. Not good.
Again, I see some familiar faces there. Tyrell Sloan, again for us. Sandon Smith had another cracker. And I'll admit, Tedesco's form leading the young kids is it's not representative form. It's not state of origin form. He's no Cameron Munster. Even Dylan Edwards should be playing for New South Wales this year.
I apologise to the Tedesco family.
I apologise to the Tedesco family that he's actually cutting it at the base level in NRL.
And that he's not grandmother class.
He's not grandmother class. But it's only the third of the season.
We'll accept it here on EPOR. Thank you.
All right.
But any
great performance.
Any reason why Sandon Smith brings a game like that and then goes quiet for the next couple of matches? Is it his inconsistency? What's going on?
Just a little bit of inexperience. I think he's got a lot to learn. I think he's a player of the future. They obviously want Sam Walker to come back, but
Is he back?
not sure. Not sure.
Okay. What are they going to do there? You can't just have two halves, can you? One of them's got to go 5'8".
That's up to Trent Robinson.
Right.
They'll play left and right side, I'm sure. They need both in the side. But I think a lot of these young blokes like Sandon Smith, I really think that the Roosters are gaining some momentum by not having great expectations on them.
That's actually, yeah. But did you notice his blood pressure's come down a bit?
Oh, Trent Robinson's head's like it
was like a red tomato over the last 3 or 4 first games when they were struggling. And he's a bit more calm, but they got some.
He's still suffering from that barbecue gas cylinder that blew up. What was that? Was that last Christmas or something?
I think it was last Christmas.
Yeah.
But did you hear the typer on this? No, you did, didn't you? Yep. As he's trying to talk, I'm going, mate, haven't we got phones to record it and then you type later on? I just couldn't believe it. I'm going, every time he does a press conference. So he's got his own secretary.
I like it.
She must be good looking.
I like it when they.
She's got to be. She's got to be. Why else would you let her sit right next to the microphone?
Maybe under the table.
What's going on?
I like the press conferences when you're the away team and they sit you there and the home team singing their song while you're trying to have the press conference and you can't even hear them and they're sticking it up and
not good.
But look, Roosters.
Blake Steep,
give him credit.
Any comment on Blake Steep off the bench? Had a big one.
Yeah, plenty of impact. Look, I'm not too familiar with these players in the Roosters side. They're a young side. I'm not.
But the kicking game of Savala, he definitely has helped.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I think Saints are extremely disappointing. I thought Kyle Flanagan is poor at the moment. I think the only player that really shows any sort of class and is now starting to work his way into this team is Valentine Holmes. Okay. I think he's shown some tidy form.
Can I run you some stats to help you with your classifications here? 1,960 all-run metres for Roosters. They just run riot. 1,400 for St George. Kicks 16-13. Pretty good kicking game for Roosters. 443. A little bit more than St George, the Roosters, but the tackles made here. Wait for this. Roosters 273 and St George 325. Missed tackles 23 Roosters and 27 St George. You can't beat a good side with pretty good players in there.
Yeah, I just think that St George have had those pick up the ball that's rolling on the ground, a little bit of opportunism tries. I just think their execution in their set plays is poor, and I think that Flanagan got out coached by Trent Robinson.
The Bellin 37 tackles. Connor Watson's a bit of a work animal, even though he didn't have to. If that's the top tackle count, 29. St George obviously couldn't hold the ball.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Bellin anyway, to be honest either. So I think that.
You think he's just more of an impact player and defender? That's it. He's not much of an attacker. He's no Xavier Willison.
No. He's got no real good offload on him. He's certainly not the player he was when he was playing State of Origin.
And to back up your apology, 230 metres run for most run metres for James Tedesco.
Must have been when the St George players had their shoelaces tied together. But anyway,
you can't help yourself, can you? You can't. Next game, do we have to talk about this one? Because this one was really destroyed yet again by some shocking sin bin decisions. But New Zealand, I love New Zealand's forwards, and I love the fact that one of their main players is not there and they're still playing out of their skin. Wade Egan's I'm a big fan of Wade Egan.
Yeah, look, I thought the Warriors, again, they've had back-to-back weeks. They're in New Zealand. It's ANZAC weekend. They're a little bit more to play for.
Yeah.
Look, I think, that result was always going to happen against Newcastle. Newcastle got some serious problems. And like I said, I felt that the Newcastle coach, I think after second or third round of the NRL, I said that I think he's going to probably be the first one to be punted. I don't think he'll last the season, your Newcastle coach.
There's a big question mark above his head. If there's not a halo, it's a question mark.
But, it was...
Adam Pompey 2 tries, Wade Egan 1 try. Jackson Ford had a massive game. Big forward. Remember Ford from
Yep.
the...
scored a couple.
But the touch football games, big Ford.
Yep.
Stoyan Ford. But, he's a good player, Jackson Ford.
Yeah, and you've got, obviously, you like James Schiller, he scored for Newcastle, but they were down 16-0 at half-time. Newcastle came back to win 12-10. It was a dire affair, but they got the job done, and the Warriors are in the top 4, and they're probably
How hard is it for Ponga to be playing with a side that just won't deliver? It's got to be hard.
How hard is it for Ponga to be playing for a team he probably doesn't want to play for now, and maybe he's still suffering the effects of the Parramatta boy coming over?
Yeah. I think so.
I think he's not very happy, and
doesn't look happy.
He's feeling like, well, why should I do all this work on my own?
Yeah,
I think he doesn't feel worth his while.
Luke Metcalf. I'm a massive fan of Luke Metcalf.
Yeah,
I am. Why don't you like?
In what respect? What do you like about him?
I like his youth, his speed, and his football knowledge.
He's got some speed, and he's
only young.
Yeah, I mean, well, who's going to be the Dally M? What do they call him? The Dally M Junior of the Year, or what do they call him?
I'm not saying he's to that level, but every time he's got points on the board, Luke Metcalf.
Well,
he's a great banker, that's for sure. For AGS,
yeah, he is. I just like the Dolphins halfback.
Katoa,
he's just
mature beyond his means. The possession rate here, 52% to 48. So they finally got some ball, Newcastle, but they still couldn't get over the line. All runs meters, massive to the Warriors there. Really massive. Another 300 meters run. Fantastic. The kicking meter is pretty much the same. Tackles made. Here's the horrendous figures that are going to blow your gas cylinder. 430 tackles made for Newcastle, 380 for Warriors. Missed tackles, 25 for Warriors, 32 for Newcastle. As you said, they've got massive problems. The biggest performer in the game, I think, were the two Brayley brothers, one for Cronulla and one for 52 tackles there for Newcastle, Jaden Brayley. Mm-hmm. Aaron Clark, 45, another work animal. And most run meters, surprisingly, Chance Nickel Clockstack back from his time away.
Had a good game.
Greg Marzu, 197. But, it's hard to really even pull much out of that game. But I really like the Warriors this year, especially at home. Next game, it was the Storm. This one, as I did tell you, was going to be tighter than what we thought, what a lot of people thought, especially Amy.
It was 10-all at half-time. Storm 24, defeating the Rabbitohs 16. The Rabbitohs were... Look, Storm just... They're grinding away, winning games, playing poor.
It was a dirty win, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a dirty win. And again... there's a lot of other players out there that we bag that are spending more minutes on the field than Latrell Mitchell, and Latrell Mitchell had an opportunity to lead that side, and he just went missing, mate. I'm not a big fan.
What position was he playing against, Scott? Surely wasn't at the halves again, was he?
No, they put him at fullback and
still didn't do anything.
Little Jai.
Oh, Jai Gray.
Jai Gray out of his position, and he probably showed more courage than Latrell Mitchell would in a season. So, I'm not a fan of Latrell Mitchell, sorry.
Jack Whiten played his heart out, scored 2 tries.
Probably the best player on the field for South Sydney, Jack Whiten. He ran very well. He ran some real good lines, scored 2 quality tries, and he was pumped about that as well. So,
well, the missed tackles, Scotty, tell the tale. 48 missed tackles to South, only 27 to Melbourne. Tackles made, he's a big one as well. An extra 40 tackles made for South, 371 over 331.
That's another 6 or 7 sets of 6. So.
Absolutely. Your best player there, Ewan Aitken, 50 tackles there for defence, and Sean Bloor, a big work animal, 36. Elise Katoa. I'm a massive fan. Mm-hmm. I couldn't get a bet on because of the power being out, and he would have been my first banker. 180 metres there.
And I would have picked Pappenhausen, and Tyrone Wishart's always good value as well.
Always good value off the bench.
I probably wouldn't have gone for Jack White.
No, that's what would have taken me out as the South try scorers. The fact that there was nothing really there. You would have had to have all your try scorers down on the Melbourne side, and there wasn't that many tries.
I'm going to make a prediction here that on form, who deserves the New South Wales State of Origin fullback spot? Dylan Edwards or Ryan Pappenhausen?
Well, you know what I think. Ryan Pappenhausen's been more consistent, but there's this element when it comes to selections, and even with the Australian side, some Aussie teams that go away or go on tour, some of the players are way out of form.
Well, I don't think,
but they have that selection criteria.
Well, I don't think the selectors know what's going on in New South Wales this year, and I don't think the coach does. I was watching an interview the other day, and I'm going to pick on Laurie Daly here. I like picking on people because they're not learning to defend themselves. You know what I mean?
But as long as when you're wrong, you apologise to the fans.
I have. But they were commenting on Laurie Daly and was talking about what's your problem, or can you see a problem in regards to the fact that we're going into the Magic round this week and we've got the Broncos playing Penrith. If the Broncos beat the Penrith, after round 8 or 9 of the competition, we're going to have Penrith dead last.
Dead last.
Behind Newcastle. 12 out of 13 games to make the top 8, which means
he still thinks he's going to do it, though.
And but
the coach.
They said, well, what do you think about? And he goes, no, forget that form.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
they're all big guns. They're all throw that out the window because I know that all those Penrith players, they're all big gun players. So what he's saying is, even though Penrith are last, he's going to put all them in. And then they turn around and said, well, what about Jake Trbojevic from Manly? And he said, oh, well, he's a player that really needs to probably show some form to make. So all of a sudden he's gone, I don't need form from the Penrith guys in last spot, but Jake Trbojevic, he needs to show form to gain a spot that he really didn't deserve anyway, because nice bloke. But if you're picking a bloke that can only pay, he's your captain of your team and he's...
All looks after your mother-in-law. Looks after his mother-in-law.
45 or 50 minutes of the game and you're sitting there on the bench, captaining from the bench.
You don't pick him on personality, do you?
Well, they did.
Yeah, with him.
Nice bloke.
Yeah, but...
You're a nice bloke, Jake.
Yeah, but that's not going to get you over the line, is it?
Well, it won't this year, even though they won it last year. I've forgotten already.
How dare you? I apologise to the people now, to all you New South Wales people.
Look, 24-6, Storm are grinding away. They're still undoubtedly the competition favourites because of their roster. But
Harry needs to come back, I think, from really to solidify that.
Yeah, they're missing Harry
defence.
Yeah, his control around the ruck areas probably going to be the contributing factor to them backing up and playing another grand final this year, no doubt.
Now, getting on to the next match, this was an amazing match because Titans had a lead again, and lucky someone didn't record Des Hasler at full time, because I'm sure he would have given it to his players after leading again and losing 50-18. But I was rubbing my hands together because I always thought Cowboys were in the match even when they were behind, because they can score from anywhere on the park.
Well, I just think...
And I got power back. I got the power back so I could put my bets on. And that was a fantastic thing I'll talk about in a second.
Well,
go, Scotty.
Oh, look, Des Hasler,
what about
he must be the most passive coach. I don't think he gets upset because he's got real thick hair.
But we've heard it.
We've
heard him getting upset on a recorder.
Well, it was only one time. I think with this team here, you can't be blowing. You'd be blowing up every week.
Yeah,
honestly,
every week,
after 3 weeks, you'd have no hair left, or it'd be grey. His hair's not changing colour. He's got the thickest bush of hair.
Yeah,
right, and he just sits there and he's motionless. I felt sorry for him. Right?
He wants to say about the decisions going against him, but it's more than that. There's more than that wrong with the side.
Yeah, he nearly stutters. And he just he wants to, and he stops himself. So he gets to the door. It's not a stutter, but in his press conferences, he just gets to the door and he's about to open it up and go,
"I better not."
No,
I don't want to blow 50 grand.
No. So, well, Isn't the Titans being supported by the NRL? I don't know.
Unbelievable.
But look, at the Cowboys, I called the start of their run. They've won 4 out of 4. They lost their first 3. They've won 4. They got a bye, and mate, they're a real threat to the competition. The Cowboys at the moment.
Ask me how good Jackson Purdue is.
Oh, he's brilliant.
He's fantastic.
He's brilliant.
Every week he gets us our banker for the ATTS. And Dearden set up his try. How good Dearden was all over the park.
Dearden is in career best form. The way he attacks the line and runs at the line.
Is it going to be him and Cherry for the Queensland?
Yeah, I think this year. And I'd like to see Thomas Dearden maybe take over the halfback role for Queensland next year.
I'm with you.
I think he'll be the Queensland halfback next year. If not,
he's so solid, so consistent. That's what you want out of your halves.
Oh, and he's tough.
Tough, yeah, absolutely tough.
He reminds me of
who does he remind you of?
He reminds me of Tommy Raudonikis, but with the speed of Steve Mortimer,
which is pretty good. That's a pretty good combo.
Quick. But look, Jake Clifford. I mean,
Reece Robson's just solidified his spot in New South Wales,
and I would have. Absolutely, and I would have picked Nanai. He's another one of my favourites for the Cowboys, Nanai. But
how good is Robert Darby, mate? There was a treble there, I think. Yeah, he scored.
Yeah, he went real well. Like, mate, 50 against the Titans after being down 18-12 at halftime. But didn't you get hot form, the Cowboys?
But didn't you get a sense because they can score from anywhere and they've got these players like Purdue and the speed and Dearden? Didn't you think that it was a score that was a bit,
Well, I just think it was a matter of them executing better than what the Titans can, because it appears that the Titans can never defend.
What I'm saying, you never had to fear that they're going to lose that match. Not even at half time, surely.
No,
I was confident that they were
100%
going to lay it on in the second half.
Yeah, 6 points in it. Titans are always going to fall away. So, Cowboys, they're in red hot form. They're a real threat to the competition.
Scotty Drinkwater, one of your favourite ATTS, has scored in the last minute. Last seconds.
Yeah, so there's some regular names there. Look, you know me. I don't like to go for a $7 or $8. I like to build that by having the regulars. Your Pappenhausens, your Drinkwaters, your Cobbos, and
sorry, I'm talking about Murray Talagi. He finally, on his 100th game, he went over, but Drinkwater got all the goals. He had a big game too. I was talking about Murray Talagi. What's his? There's a pronunciation we're missing. Murray Talangi or something. It's all that pronunciation we can't always get right. I mean, we apologise to the players if we get it wrong, but we're just calling it as the English way here. But, okay, so the next one is... let's quickly just have a look at the possession rate here. It must have been crazy. The missed tackles here, oh, my God, 48 Gold Coast, 18 Cowboys. Tackles made 350. Titans only 294 for the Cowboys. Well,
another 10 sets of 6 there.
It's going to gash you. 45 to 55% possession in favour of Cowboys there. Most tackles there. Bo Fermor, he's one of my favourite players, and he was one of our first ATTSs. And mind you, we picked up pretty good on the ATTSs in that game. We actually had Jake Clifford as one of our bankers, along with Talagi, Bo Fermor, Reece Robson. We had them all, and the only one we missed. We had Talangi for 2 tries, but he only went over the once for his 100th game, and he had a big game, but he had to come off the wing.
And you showed me your tickets. I mean, for $1 here, $2.50 here, you pumped $50-$70 out of it, and it was just
all up. It was about $250 we won.
Yeah,
for a small outlay, and that's what we do here. We're responsible gamblers. We don't want you to put any big bets on, except your one that you would have jumped off the bridge if you missed out on it. The Cowboys won that time at 100 win at 4-1, but we do enthuse just small little bets because that's makes the game a bit more fun.
I had a bit of a warning in my waters that was telling me that I just had to put that.
Was it in your Roger waters there?
But they backed it up. The Cowboys are phenomenal. What about the Panthers and Seagulls at Bank? Let's look at the Panthers' form at CommBank. It must be an absolute friggin' nightmare for
Seagulls
Panthers.
brought their big game though.
Well,
And Turbo was back as well.
Turbo was back.
That was the reason why you tipped them, correct?
No, was it Combank? Turbo was back.
Oh, you're right.
And I said
you did mention
I did not believe that Daly Cherry Evans would play as bad as what he did last week. And he came back this week and he executed perfectly.
Well, that's my father's theory. Always forgive that champion racehorse one bad
the
run.
champion back. And look, I don't think he's running freely. He's still running with an injury, Turbo.
What about the 2 try scorers for Penrith? Talagi and Oyongi. So is that a bit of a surprise there?
Yeah. Look,
they haven't quite got it, have they? That these new players haven't quite got what Luai brought to that team.
Yeah, well, if they lose to the Broncos this week, like I said, they've got to win 12 out of 13 games, and to win the competition, they have to win 16 out of nearly 17 games. Like, you
saw the press conference, didn't you, with the father coach, with
Roger Ramjet? Ramjet,
but his father.
Yeah, Roger Ramjet said, I still think we can make it.
No, Cleary's father was sort of laughing every couple of comments. Is that a fear for you? Know how some people laugh when they're scared? I think that he's going to have egg running down his face if they can't beat the Broncos. And if Broncos hold that form, well, good luck trying to beat them. You need to have a look at some stats there, Scotty, because this may tell the tale. Tackles made, 358 for Panthers, because they really couldn't hold the ball. 329 for Manly. Missed tackles, 31, 32, pretty similar. The rest of the game was fairly similar, but the tackles made really gassed them an extra 39.
And it was a 14-0 grind at halftime by Manly. Ola Katoa was really, really great. I thought Garrick's always good for a try, and his goal-kicking performance was sensational. And I think the transition that Seibold made with Garrick from the wing to the centre has been a real success.
I think it has.
I think he's been actually one of the best centres in the comp.
Well, I do like Kula because his speed. He scored again. And I didn't get on that game, unfortunately, and he would have been one of my first ones. What's his name? Tolo Kola. Jeez, he's quick.
Super quick.
Line, Edwards did 146 most run meters, and Tommy Travojevic, is that no surprise, 180. Most tackles, Isaiah Yawa, that's one of his fortes. And Jazz Tavaga. Do you like Jazz Tavaga?
No, I'm not.
Not a big fan?
No.
But he's a good defender.
Yeah, he is. But look, back on Yo-Yo, he'll be the New South Wales captain this year.
Easily. On that performance, Dylan Edwards only made 1 line break and Jake Simpkins made 2.
Pappenhausen's got to be the fullback for New South Wales.
But don't you think they're going to go with that criteria that I told you? They don't like changing it too much, especially if it was a winning formula the year before. I'm right, I know.
Well, then that would mean that Nathan Cleary doesn't get picked and Moses is the halfback. But I bet that don't happen.
No. Well, I think it should. They better not leave them run. If they're behind 1-0, they better not leave it to the second game to make that switch.
Dark horses, Warriors,
Dolphins, if they can.
No, we picked
You don't like Dolphins,
right? No, the dark horses. We picked. I'm looking at Dolphins, the dark horses being the Warriors, right? And we had the Cowboys, which I just said was another dark horse in red hot form.
Definitely.
The third team in red hot form at $26 now. Canberra Raiders for the next game. Canberra Raiders. Ricky's got them going home.
How much are they to win the comp? 26s.
$26.
Crikey. That could be a little sneaky.
Storms at $2.70. The Bulldogs are at $6, and the Broncos have shortened back down to $6.50.
You saw the press conference, didn't you, with Ricky? And he didn't seem happy that they gave away so much of a lead.
Is he ever happy? Mate, suck on another lemon, Ricky. Oh.
No, he was happy when Sebastian Chris got that flukish try. But that really ripped me apart. I looked at Fogarty, I had some lady that rang me up and she spent 1 hour on the phone. I'm just going, lady, I've got to put my bets on. And it sort of threw me off. And I'm looking at Fogarty. I thought he hasn't gone over. I've got a feeling he's going to go over today. And he was the last one to score. It really ripped my
Well, there's a good
heart
opportunity to win some money in that game. At 28-10 at half-time, the Dolphins were on absolute fire. And we had the Hammer, we had Farnsworth, we had Saifidi, Asako and Avarillo. Like, they're the consistent names that we see all the time. But then, in the second half, they could not hold the ball. The Raiders scored 30 second-half points unanswered and finished winning the game 40-28. And I thought the Dolphins would be. I thought
You think they'll hold on?
I thought they might hold on. I did tip the Raiders only because it was in Canberra.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect that scoreline in the end, 40-28. To put 40 on against the Dolphins, they're hot and cold.
I did mention that there may be a lot of tries scored, but I still didn't think it was going to be like 12 or 13 tries.
Yeah, so
amazing. I really like Fogarty. I'm a big Fogarty fan.
No, he went real well.
Give him a deal. Give him something. Offer him something, Ricky. You got to. You can't let a guy go like that. Who's such a great kicker.
They should have plenty of money in Canberra. No one wants to play there. Fucking cold. Damp.
Yeah.
Sad place, Canberra.
Look at all the Canberrans right now and say you live in a lovely place.
There's only one place that makes Canberra better.
And don't tell me it's Parliament House. I'm going to whack you on the head.
It's Melbourne.
Oh, Melbourne.
With the weather. Melbourne's weather makes it.
Oh, yeah. What was that? What was that song from Crowded House?
No.
What was that song
in one day?
Yeah. It's definitely like that. You go to the racetrack, you don't take an umbrella.
4 seasons in one day.
You
Melbourne's
get
a shit fight, and Canberra's a frostbite.
Okay, all right.
Next game.
Yeah, next game, sir. And then we are going to talk about the NRLW State of Origin, which starts this Thursday before we finish our coverage today.
West 20 defeated the Sharks 18. Sharks are pretenders. I've got to give credit to Benji and the boys, bringing Lockie Galvin back into the side, set up 2 tries.
Well, this was your tip of the week, I believe. And although
the West Tigers at Leichhardt.
Although it went down to the wire, your comment on our little preview we did was Galvin's back and he's going to make a difference. And the fact they're playing at Leichhardt and you had no trouble tipping the Tigers.
So I had no trouble tipping the Cowboys against the Tigers when it was at Campbelltown, even though there was a big reception for the Tigers. Right, I tipped Cowboys, but the Tigers won that game, I think it was. Was that one of the first round games when they played the Cowboys?
I haven't got it in front of me.
But at Leichhardt Oval, they're real hard to beat. That's such a beautiful little ground to play at.
One of your favourite players in ATTS's, Adam Dewey.
Yeah,
played out of his skin, didn't he?
Yep.
Did you know there was 4 shots on field goal for Cronulla, and every one of them was charged down, Nelly?
Oh,
the one with Trinley just didn't have time. He was way too far out.
They were woeful. Like, have a crack, Nico. Like, they were throwing the ball to Nico, and Nico would get the ball and then throw it across.
He wouldn't. That's the one thing that really bothers it. Yes, he's got that nice little show and go, but he doesn't go. It's the one thing that really hurts me about Nico. Yes, he's a good passer of the ball, but run the freaking thing. Why don't you get a page out of Dearden's book? Show a bit of guts.
Sharks are pretenders. West Tigers showed plenty of guts. Tenacity.
How was the defence with
Galvin's last tackle?
Oh my
God! In a few last dying minutes.
Phenomenal.
No, very.
Cut his legs from underneath him. Look, that Burns guy.
It's still hard work.
Yeah.
For Luai. But I think he's seen the reward of the young blokes feeding off his experience and it'll be an experience for him that he probably hasn't had to deal with. But also, too, on the top of that, where are the Panthers compared to the Tigers? Well, he's laughing.
That's exactly right. I just want to mention to you, I think the game was set up at halftime, even though it was 10-6. Just see that the Tigers had this momentum.
Yeah, that mentality. Yeah, they were in it all the way. They are fighting for every 1%er in each game, and
Cronulla aren't. They're not.
Geez, they look lazy. They look like they really didn't want to be there.
Yeah, they look like they're resting on their laurels. the old saying, you know.
Pretenders, the Sharks.
All right, I'll just quickly go over some stats before we move on to the next match, because these stats will tell it all. Tackles made, this is surprising, 376 to Cronulla, so they did have to tackle a lot more. Missed tackles, would you believe Tigers had more, 36 to 32. But the tackles made sort of gassed them, another 46 tackles for Cronulla.
Mm-hmm.
Was it because they couldn't hold the ball, or they just couldn't do anything with that outstanding defence?
Yep.
The kicking meters was a lot more from Tigers. 5 over 3 over 312. They didn't even have a kicking game. What's happened to Trindle? What's happened to him?
I've got no idea with the Sharks. They were looking reasonably flashy, but pretenders.
Alex Seafarth, I did try and leg you up on this guy. Very good defender, 46 tackles. Mm-hmm. And Blake Brayley, yet again, outstanding at dummy half there, 52. Aidan Fanua-Blake, the most run meters. He had a fairly good game in a side that should have won that match. Truly, that's a match you don't want to. That's 2 points you want to go home with. Yeah, you're going to go back to Shard Clark, 228, and same with Terrell May. He's an absolute work animal.
Sharks banked on that. I think they banked on the win before they even left to come to.
I think they did.
Mm-hmm.
I really think they did. They just took them too easy. But you were right. I'll congratulate you for your tips.
7 out of 8.
7 out of 8.
Dragons,
and that's really hard to do in this competition because it's so freaking even, right?
Yeah.
So well done, Scotty. You've got a nice 5-point lead now.
And a 5-point lead in the Space Giants tipping contest over PC and Axeman, but it's a long season.
It's a long season.
We'll go on to the
NRLW.
Well, we've got the State of Origin this week. Now, what surprises me is,
I know what's going to surprise you.
For those viewers, the Blues came out last week 22-12 last year in 2024 season, won the first game 22-12. The Maroons came back with that mad field goal in the wet to win 11-10.
That was a psycho game.
And that just broke the back of the Blues women. And, of course, the Queenslanders won the series with a 22-6 in the third game. So they won 2 games to 1. But New South Wales still go into the first game up at Sun-Corp Stadium at $1.80 favourites as opposed to the $2. And I reckon $2 is good value for the Maroons.
There's something that really worries me about this side. Can you notice what it is, looking at that side?
Your girl's not there.
No, she's there, but look where she's playing.
Yeah, she's playing 5/8.
What the hell? What the hell, mate? She's the best centre in the game. Can you put a centre like her that scores 1 or 2 tries a match regularly into a play rolling match?
She's up against last year's Golden Boot and Taryn Aiken.
Is that why they've done it?
I don't know.
Taryn Aiken's hard to stop.
I'm
the mother of 2.
The one that
phenomenal.
The one that's going to kill me is Ali Briginshaw.
Yes,
I think she's a bit of a dinosaur, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, for Queensland. I'm not a fan of Ali.
You're not a fan of her?
No, there's got to be someone better than that. I think you and I both like the Newcastle and ex-Bronco and now new Bronco Tamika Upton.
She's a Bronco this year, yeah?
Yeah, so she's back at the Broncos, Tamika Upton.
She's an absolute work animal. What about Abby Church? She's been going good last year.
Yeah, she's going all right. Look, I think...
and 2 of the best try scorers for Australia, or the Ollie Roos, are playing each other. Chapman versus Robinson.
Yeah.
What
and
a classic.
You've got Jessica Surgis there. Look,
good side. Isabella Kelly.
Yeah. Jess Southwell. Oh, she's pretty awesome. Kezzy Apps is real good. So, look, it might come down to the benches. Oh.
Okay. Can we look at them? Kelleher's off the interchange bench. They've got a big star above her head. I haven't really seen much at this stage from Kelleher. Have you?
I was just looking at. There's another Papali there for the Queenslanders, eh?
They're a big family.
Tavana.
They don't believe in condoms.
No, they don't. They don't. They're
I'm only kidding, guys. It's just a little bit of play acting.
Well, it'd be a race between the Papalis and the Hopoatis, wouldn't it?
That's a big family, big
feud there.
Big community. They got their own community.
Look,
the poppers and the hoppers. Like the band, the poppers and the hoppers, not the mummers.
Roster-wise, probably New South Wales, but
I like the coach though. I like the New South Wales coach. You don't like him, Strange?
No, he's quality.
Who do you think there is a game apart from the obvious? Tamika Upton.
Let's go. Tamika Upton.
Who's the obvious there? Like that's going to be a game breaker in this game versus New South Wales.
Taryn Aiken.
Taryn Aiken.
She's the gun.
You have to love the way she offloads the ball.
Just.
Even though she cost me two $1,000 tickets in that game, was my fault because I threw out Olivia Koenig and put her in. That was my own fault. I still would have got the $2,000. But just going back to Olivia Koenig, let's see her stand up now. She's finally got the run. Remember there was that big controversy after she won the Dally M. So any prediction on even though it's very early, there may be a few little changes before the game starts on Thursday. How are you seeing the game up at Sun-Corp Stadium? It's got to be an advantage to the shield holders. Yeah, being at Sun-Corp.
I'm tipping Queensland by 8. I think this will be a little bit closer. The first encounter and the last encounter last year were 20 points, 22-6, 22-10. There was that real tight one, but it was in the wet weather. So it depends on whether it's a little bit slippery or wet, because the fields up in Brisbane last week were really slippery and underfoot. There was a lot of the grass coming off the field. So if it's women's, I've got to say women's footy, even though it was exciting 11-10 last year, it's not as open and as expansive and as powerful in the wet as what it can be in the dry. We like to see those.
Well, let's hope it's a dry track.
If it's a dry track, I'm leaning towards probably New South Wales to win by 6. If it's a little bit wet and slippery up there, I'm probably going to go for Queensland.
All right. I'm going to give you my 3 ATTSs. Even though it's only early, we may add some additions, 3rd, 4th and 5th leg. I'm not going to stand out Penatani like I usually do. I'm going to stand out Isabella Kelly.
Yep.
Right, and I'm going to have Jess Surgis, who's an absolute animal at centre, and played brilliantly for East in that grand final. I'd say Surgis, and I don't know, Koenig doesn't always go over. So if you want to chuck in a 2nd, 3rd and 4th leg there, I'll put in your Taryn Aiken along with, I know you don't want her to score, and you're not a big fan of Brigginshaw, but I want to put her in because she's a try scorer.
Yeah.
As a 5th leg.
Look, my ATTS try scorers will be Tamika Upton.
Yep.
I agree with you, Jessica Surgis starting in the centres.
Yep.
And the other one that I think will be a real big chance is Julia Robinson.
Well, yeah, she's a prolific try scorer, and so is her opposition, Chapman. Well, so maybe that could be our 5th leg, Chapman, but there's no value there. But what I tried to tell you when I had candlelight for electricity last weekend, I was desperate, mate, because I missed a lot of our ATTSs. Now, that was the one I used, and the fans missed out as well. But I tried to tell them always try and start with a 2-to-1 shot. You can put your odds on like your Tamika Uptons and all that as your 5th leg, just to cover your bases. But try and start with 2-to-1, and then you go out a little bit wider like you did with Jesse Ramey in that first round at 4-to-1.
Yep.
Always start with even money, and at least that way you're going to get whatever it is. 2 times 4 is 8. You're going to get 8-to-1, 9-to-1. Our doubles last week were 21-to-1, 25-to-1, and 50-to-1 treble. Now, that was a fantastic
result.
Fantastic result for every point's a winner. Anything going forward you'd like to tell your fans, Scotty? Thank you so much for coming up from the South Coast.
I don't have to.
That horse's head is getting bigger. We expect to see a massive one, right? Even if we've got to paint it on, if they get into the top 3 over the next 5 or 6 weeks after Magic Round.
I'll probably do that.
Have you got a
Brisbane win the comp?
You got a Guernsey?
I'll get.
What are you shouting us to dinner?
No, if Brisbane win the comp, I'll get my partner to come in and I'll take all my clothes off and she can paint me like a Bronco.
On film? Let's do it. Can she come up and do it?
And paint me.
Oh, I'd love to see that. All right, I'll run the show and you can be painted in the background.
All right, as the show's going, I'll get my partner to come in and she can paint me
Fantastic.
as a Bronco.
All right, guys. What do they need to do? They need to subscribe, like,
Or make any
comment.
And just give us a response.
Why do they need to do that, Scotty? Because algorithms these days push the good rugby league shows like Every Point's a Winner to the bottom, and people don't even realise it's on.
And I just like to know that there's some people out there that might give us some ideas, that might ask us some questions, and it'd be nice to answer some questions.
Fantastic.
See if there's anything that you want to know or want us to source.
Well, we did have we were contacted by the Tedesco family, so I'm glad you apologised. All right, ladies and gentlemen, until next week. Thank you, Scotty.
Wait.
Oh, hang on.
It's a very short session here. We're still crystal ball. 7 out of 8 last week. So let's get some head-to-head bets on.
Get off
this week's games. Very quickly, magic round, because I won't be here. You'll be doing the ATS.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you now.
Already.
Sharks will lose up in Brisbane against the Parramatta Atlas Funts.
Oh, dear.
Parramatta, again, I've been backing the team that's had the bye, and on most occasions, the bye has refreshed them.
Yep.
So I'm tipping Parramatta to actually beat the Sharks, and there's going to be some real doom and gloom down there at Shark Park. The one that I'm finding very difficult to select this week is the Roosters versus the Dolphins. I think being up in Brisbane, I don't think the Roosters can get their team up, as we said earlier. I don't think they can get up to winning 2 and 3 games in a row.
Scotty, when's the first game? Because the State of Origin will be solo, won't it?
Well,
so it's going to be Friday, the NRL.
Yeah, that's correct. So the first game is Parramatta and the Sharks on Friday. Thursday, we've got State of Origin.
Okay.
So there will be 2 games on the Friday, which is I've tipped Parramatta to beat the Sharks head-to-head.
Yep.
That'll be a close fought one. I'm tipping the Dolphins up in Brisbane to beat the Roosters. I'm sorry, mate.
Right up in Sun-Corp.
Yeah.
In Sun-Corp?
Well, mate, they're picking. I'll tell you now, the Roosters are at $1.89 and the Dolphins are at $1.95. So let me tell you, sports bet, they're undecided as well.
All right. Well, you're getting this 1 to 12 or 1 to 12 both sides then?
1 to 12 both sides. 1 to 12. We've got the Eels at $2.69 against the Sharks at $1.47. Surely they couldn't be that short after their performance against the Tigers.
Who's going to score for Parramatta? Do you have a try scorer that
No, I'm not going to go into that. I'm just doing the head-to-head. I'm going to leave that to you.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
If you have any, bring it through.
Rabbitohs, $1.68 up against the Knights at $2.20. I'm going the Rabbitohs. This will be a cracker.
Rabbitohs, the bounce back.
Rabbitohs will bounce back and beat the Newcastle Knights. They're shocking, mate. I just can't go for them.
No, I couldn't dip in
this will be the game of the round. Warriors versus the Cowboys. Warriors are paying $2. Cowboys at $1.94.
In New Zealand?
No, they're all up at Brisbane, remember?
Oh, that's right. It's the magic round.
So I'm going Cowboys to slow the Warriors' run. On last week's performance.
Home ground advantage.
Yep.
And Warriors aren't always 100% away from home, are they? Really?
Who do you pick out of this? $1.87 the West Tigers versus $1.96 of the Dragons after being so unconvincing last week.
Dragons are at long odds on.
$1.96. Wow. Tigers $1.87.
Well, you're going to go Tigers again?
It's 50-50. I'm going Dragons to bounce back.
All right. Okay.
Week in, week out. Tigers and Bulldogs. Bulldogs, $1.25.
They've got to bounce back, surely, after that.
Defensive display will probably hurt the Titans.
The question is, did Burton go off for HIA? Because if he stayed off, he's got to have that week off now. But he came back on, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so, okay. It's only if you stay off.
Dogs at $1.25, but up in Brisbane, if it's sunny, I reckon the Titans are a chance, and they're $4. Good value for the Titans.
Will Desi have a haircut?
Broncos $1.64.
He may need one after that game.
Broncos $1.64 to beat the Panthers at $2.27, and I'm tipping the Storm at $1.50. This is the game they've been looking at wanting to kickstart their season and show they're going to make a statement, the Storm, and they will defeat the Raiders, who are paying $2.60. So I'm going Storm to beat Raiders, Broncos to beat the Panthers, Dogs to beat the Titans,
Go back. Yeah, that's it.
Dogs to beat the Titans, Dragons to beat the West Tigers, Cowboys to beat the Warriors, Rabbitohs to come back and beat the Knights. I'm tipping the Dolphins to beat the Roosters, and I'm tipping Parramatta Eels to beat the Sharks, and of course Manly get the bye.
Going forward, Scotty, who's your top three after the Magic round? Who do you think will be the top three? Be Bulldogs, possibly
Bulldogs,
Broncos,
Storm, and
possibly
probably Broncos, with Warriors losing and the Raiders losing, and the Raiders and Warriors both on 12 points. The Broncos have got 20 or 30 point better for and against. So your top three next week will be Bulldogs, Storm and Raiders, and down on the bottom after a loss to the Broncos this weekend, we will see the Panthers with only 4 premiership points from 2 wins in 8 games. And that's 8 games played with no buys. And currently they are still sitting at $15. And I've got to tell you, the Titans are paying $1.51 to win the comp. The Knights are $126, sorry, $151 the Titans, $126 the Knights, the Eels $101. So there's 3 teams now that have hit 100 plus odds.
Yeah. Well,
against
it's starting
them.
to sort itself out.
So it is starting to sort itself out. Best value, Raiders at $26, the Warriors are at $26, and the Cowboys at $36.
All right, if I put a gun to your head right now, a proverbial gun, would you back them each way now, those 3 boulders, your 2 dark horses and your Brisbane side still paying 6 to 1?
I think the money's on the Cowboys at 36. $36.
Well, why not have a lousy 10?
Yep.
You put 50 in a pokey, put your 10 where your money where your mouth is.
All right.
Put 10 on Warriors,
10 on the
10 on Cowboys, and you got $30.
Well, I'm going to lose if I put them on winning the comp. I'm going to put $10. I'm going to put $10 on the Cowboys at $36.
Warriors,
and then I will put $10 on Cowboys, Warriors, and Raiders to make the 8.
All right. I don't know how you get set with that because I don't think Tab have got that market. You'd have to go to one of the sports bet apps.
Mm-hmm.
So let me know if you get the odds because I might have another little specky with it because I think Canberra, the big surprise packet this year from that very first win against Warriors. Remember, we thought Warriors were good things in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I still think it's looking like Broncos Storm at the moment, but who knows? Who knows?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, until next week, God bless. It's going to be a pretty wet couple of days coming up, so who knows if it's going to be a wet state of origin. Hopefully it's a dry one. And best of luck to Tiana Penatani for New South Wales.
Peace and love, and thank you for listening to us.
Next time. Thank you, guys. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Is that in there, Scotty? Yeah. Is that in? Scotty?
Yep. Oh, fuck.